The Great Lakes of North America. They're 5 interconnected freshwater seas, so huge they hold over 80% of the continent's fresh water and literally create their own weather. For centuries, these lakes have been the lifeblood of the region, acting as highways for trade and a constant source of profound mystery. Sailors have long told tales of ghost ships vanishing in sudden fogs, of strange lights glowing beneath the waves, and of creatures that defy all explanation. But among all the legends whispered along these shores, one encounter stands out. It's a story that begins in the deep, cold waters of Lake Superior and centers on a single witness, an impossible creature, and a warning that was almost ignored. In 1782, a fur trader saw something that shouldn't exist, but his story wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a hidden history of mermaid and merman legends that leaves us wondering what truly lies beneath the surface. The year is 1782. The American Revolution is winding down, but out here, in the vast, untamed wilderness of the Great Lakes, those conflicts feel a world away. For men like Venant Saint-Germain, a French-Canadian fur trader, life is defined by the paddle, the canoe, and the endless horizon of water and forest. On May 3rd, Saint-Germain and his party made camp on the shores of Pea Island, nestled in Lake Superior. The evening was clear and calm. As the sun went down, casting long shadows across the water, Saint-Germain was heading back from setting his fishing nets when a movement on the lake caught his eye. About 75 yards from shore, something broke the surface. It wasn't a fish, and it wasn't a log. To his astonishment, it looked like it was half human. Frozen on the shoreline, Venant Saint-Germain stared for what he later recalled was 3 to 4 uninterrupted minutes. The creature seemed to stare right back. In a sworn affidavit he gave 30 years later, in 1812, before 2 judges in Montreal, Saint-Germain described the moment with incredible clarity. The animal had the upper body of a human, about the size of a 7 or 8-year-old child. Its skin was a brownish color, its nose was small, and its eyes were, in his words, brilliant. He could distinctly see one arm out of the water with a hand and fingers, just like a person's. The face, he testified, held an expression of both unease and curiosity. For those few minutes, 2 beings from different worlds were locked in a moment of silent observation. Then, Saint-Germain, a man of his time, reacted instinctively. He reached for his gun, intending to shoot it. But this is where the story splits. In his sworn statement, Saint-Germain simply says, the creature dove below the surface and disappeared. But over the years, a more dramatic version of the tale emerged. In that version, an elderly Ojibwe woman traveling with him tackled him, wrestling the gun away. As they struggled, the creature vanished. This embellished story says she then warned him he had almost killed a Maimegwashi, a god of the waters, and that harming one would bring terrible misfortune. And, as if on cue, a violent storm supposedly trapped them on the island for 3 days. While these details aren't in the official court document, they became a crucial part of the legend. What we know for sure is that Venant Saint-Germain was so convinced by what he saw that he preserved it in a sworn affidavit, forever cementing the 1782 merman sighting as the most significant and well-documented encounter of its kind in Great Lakes history. Saint-Germain's encounter may be the most famous documented case, but he was really just an outsider who stumbled upon a belief system that was already ancient. The Ojibwe woman's warning, whether it happened exactly as the legend tells or not, came from a deep and complex worldview. To the Anishinaabe peoples, the Great Lakes are a sacred place, inhabited by powerful spirits, or manitus. The creature Saint-Germain likely saw, the Maimegwashi, is a prominent figure in the spiritual world. These aren't the glamorous mermaids of European fairy tales. Ojibwe legends describe the Maimegwashi as childlike in stature, often covered in hair with large heads. They are said to live in the rocky crevices and underwater caves that line the shores of Lake Superior and the other Great Lakes. Their nature is complicated. They can be helpful guides, but they can also be dangerous tricksters. Some stories tell of them mischievously stealing fish from nets, while others are much darker. There is another, often more sinister version of these beings as well, the Nabawan Albawuk. These are predatory merfolk said to pull humans into the depths. This folklore is the bedrock of the Great Lakes merman legend. While St. Germain's sighting was on Lake Superior, these beliefs stretched across the entire Great Lakes basin. The 1782 sighting didn't create a new monster. It was the moment a European trader's journal entry collided with an ancient, living tradition. It provided an outside voice that seemed to validate what indigenous people had always known. They were not alone in the water. As the years passed, the story of Venant St. Germain's merman became a fixture of regional folklore. But a strange thing happened. While chilling reports of phantom ships and weird phenomena continued to trickle out from all 5 of the Great Lakes, documented, historical sightings of merfolk in Lake Michigan itself remained curiously absent. The epicenter of the legend, the 1782 event, was firmly anchored in Lake Superior. Yet, the idea of a mermaid didn't vanish from Lake Michigan's shores. It just changed its form. With no new eyewitness accounts, the Lake Michigan mermaid swam from the world of cryptozoology into art and literature. The most significant modern chapter was written not in a ship's log, but in a book of poetry. The Lake Michigan Mermaid, A Tale in Poems, by authors Anne Marie Uman and Linda Nemec Foster, reimagined the legend for a new era. Their book, named A Michigan Notable Book, tells the story of a young girl, Lycrisia, who, facing family troubles, finds comfort in the lake and starts a telepathic conversation with a mermaid named Philia Delatia. The mermaid becomes a powerful symbol, a voice of reason, friendship, and the healing power of water. This reflects a bigger cultural shift. The question was no longer, is there a monster in the lake? But, what does the idea of a mermaid in our lake mean to us? Of course, skeptics have logical explanations for what St. Germain might have seen. The Great Lakes are home to the lake sturgeon, a massive, prehistoric fish that can grow over 7 feet long. To a weary traveler at dusk, could the bony, almost armor-plated head of a sturgeon be mistaken for something more human? It's a valid question, as are other theories involving misidentified seals or simply tricks of light on the water. But those explanations don't fully capture why the legend has persisted. The story found a new way to survive, not as a creature to be hunted, but as a myth to be embraced. The journey of this legend, from a trader's shocking encounter to a modern poetic myth, shows our enduring fascination with the unknown. The stories we tell about the water often reflect our own relationship with it as a source of life, beauty, and deep, unsettling mystery. So what do you think? Was the 1782 sighting a genuine encounter with an unknown species? Or is it a legend that has simply grown and transformed over time? Let me know your theories in the comments. And if you enjoyed this look into the hidden history of the Great Lakes, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next exploration into the world's most captivating mysteries. So, what haunts the Great Lakes? Is it the memory of a child-sized creature with brilliant eyes, seen for just a few minutes over 2 centuries ago? Or is it something deeper? The story starts with Venant St. Germain, a man who saw something so impossible he felt he had to swear to its truth in a court of law. His account gives us a date, a location, and a startlingly clear description. From there, the legend deepens, weaving in the ancient folklore of the Ojibwe, who spoke of the May-Maigwashi and Nabau-Naubaiwuk long before Europeans arrived. These were powerful spirits, demanding a respect that St. Germain almost failed to give. Then, the legend flows from the waters of Lake Superior into the cultural imagination of Lake Michigan. It finds new life not in more sightings, but in the pages of poetry and in performers who adopt the mermaid persona, continuing the tradition through art. In the end, maybe it's the lack of hard proof, no body, no photograph, that gives the legend its real power. The merman of the Great Lakes isn't a creature that can be captured and put on display. It exists in that mysterious space between history and folklore, between a sworn affidavit and a whispered story. It represents the vast, unexplored depths of the lakes themselves and the even deeper parts of our own imagination, which will always wonder about what lies just out of sight beneath the dark, cold water.